The Cardinals lose much more than just a game on Tuesday. The latest on the devastating injury to Willson Contreras on today's episode of Locked on Cardinals.
You are Locked on Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm a national radio sports anchor, born and raised in the Lou and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And I'm your host for Locked on Cardinals, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter, X, at JD Sports Radio. You can follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. Want to thank those of you who do make Locked on Cardinals your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. If this is your first time joining us, welcome aboard. We're also on YouTube. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment so you're interacting with us. Hit the notification button so you know when those new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans of baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode being brought to you by eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts that you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. It's a somber day for Cardinal Nation. Just when you thought it really couldn't get much worse for the St. Louis Cardinals, tragedy strikes in the form of an injury to arguably the most important position player on the roster this year, and that's catcher Willson Contreras. Let's sadly go back and talk about how it happened, why it happened, who's to blame. We're going to get into all of that today. We'll go back. The Cardinals had just scored 3 runs in the first inning. Top of the first. Everything seemed to be going great, right? Top of the first. Michaelis looks good. Bottom of the first, they scored 3 runs. Contreras, a big part of that, ripping a double that went 113 miles per hour off the bat, just baffled left fielder Stewart as it just sailed off the top of his. I mean, that was a missile. It looked like it was knuckling, and it just hammered that pitch. Goes to the wall in left field. He winds up scoring on a 2-out base hit by Alec Burleson, who came in clutch, had a big night on Tuesday. Then with 1 out in the top of the second inning, JD Martinez digs in. And on the 4th pitch of the at-bat, Martinez took a hack. And simultaneously, Willson Contreras is reaching out with his glove hand to receive the pitch, like he's done hundreds and hundreds of times already this season. And instead of connecting with the ball or even the glove, it was a different feeling. Martinez said after the game, you're expecting to hit a ball and you hit an arm. And you're like, what was that? I hit meat. I felt I hit meat. I didn't hit just a glove where you point back at the catcher. It was solid. Dude, I hit him good. When I got to first, I felt terrible. And the reaction from Willson Contreras, it said it all. And you knew it was something serious. And then they showed the replay as Martinez's bat connects with Contreras' forearm. And you can just see the movement in the arm. And as soon as I saw it, I said, uh-oh. That did not look good. Because it wasn't a glancing blow. It hit flush. And the full power of the 6'3", 230-pound Martinez was felt by Contreras in the worst way possible. As it hit his arm, went down to his wrist. And after sitting with Ali Marmol and head trainer Adam Olson for a few minutes, he reluctantly left the field. Not moving his left arm. Clearly there was an issue. And not long later, we learned that Pedro Pages had been removed from his game from Memphis, all but signaling the bad news that was going to come down the pipeline. And then not long after that, we got the horrific news that the blow from Martinez's bat had fractured Willson Contreras' left arm and that he would be out indefinitely. And all the positive energy, any good vibes that had come from that first inning, immediately sucked out of Busch Stadium in an instant. Just bam, gone. Contreras would say afterwards that this is the most pain I've been through for sure. I knew right away it was a bad situation. Unfortunately, it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks to recover. I'm not going to blame anybody. I just have to get back stronger. And surgery is coming up in the next couple of days. That was the last thing I heard, is that he will undergo surgery. So I'm sure they're going to have to put a plate in there or something. He talked about afterwards, too, where he tried to move it a little bit and he could hear cracking. Dude, I don't have the strongest of stomachs in the first place, But to hear that, I'm just, it makes me ill. It makes me ill. Now, there's a couple of things in the quote that I want to talk about with those phrases. First off, Wilson Contreras is one tough son of a gun. We know that. I mean, he's already been dealing with the hand injury pretty much the whole season after getting hit by a pitch early on in San Diego. Probably should have gone on the IL, but because he's tough as nails, he wanted to play, he wanted to contribute, he wanted to compete with his teammates. You'd see him on certain plays just writhing in pain because of his hand, but there he'd be either the next inning, or if they had to take him out because the pain was too much, he'd be there in the next game. Like, we'd be shocked that he's in the lineup. That's crazy. So for him to say that this is the most pain that he's ever been in, it's something pretty serious. Like, I don't know how many fractures there are in there, but like I said, the way that the movement was on the replay, you could just see everything in his arm was like moving. Like, you know how like during the Aaron Rodgers play, if you watched the NFL this year, and in that first series for the Jets, Aaron Rodgers, and they were focusing like after he ruptured his Achilles tendon, and they showed like the movement going. That's what it looked like, but it was Willie's arm instead. It was disgusting, and you just knew it was something bad. So, second, him saying, "I'm not going to blame anybody." This is where things get a little bit controversial, because there's obviously been a lot of feedback online, and people are pointing at other people as to why and how this happened and who's to blame. Some people are blaming JD Martinez. I'll tell you why they're blaming him for this, while some are choosing to blame the St. Louis Cardinals and what they decided to make Wilson Contreras and their catchers do this year. So I'm going to get into all of that, explain it to you, and you can make a judgment for yourself whether there's a certain somebody to blame here, or is it just a freak accident? Is it just stuff happens? So we'll get into all of that next here on Locked On Cardinals. This Mother's Day, get something thoughtful for mom on DoorDash. Surprise her from wherever you are with fresh flower bouquets, the latest tech, gift cards, self-care treats, and more to make her day all that much better. And you can use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flowers, convenience, grocery, or retail order right now on DoorDash. Now, you can pair your flowers with a gift card, so that way you not only get, because women love flowers. Mom loves flowers. They all do. Don't let them lie to you and say they don't. But they can celebrate any way they want. Along with the flowers, you can get a gift card to whatever your mom happens to be into. Does she like going to, places to get candles? That's something. My wife loves putting like the scented stuff all around the house. That's one of her things. Maybe your mom's the same way. Maybe she likes that. So what about a gift card to her favorite coffee shop? What about a gift card to a sporting goods store so she can buy more Cardinals gear, or whoever she roots for? You can't go wrong with DoorDash. Plus, you get the convenience of shopping on your phone, which is great, right? You don't have to actually leave the house. You don't have to be one of those people scrambling at the last minute trying to find a store that's got something that maybe your mom likes. It's not a great spot to be in. Don't let it happen to you. Order now and get everything you need for Mother's Day on DoorDash. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB. Smart move, because you get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flower, convenience, grocery, or retail order right now on DoorDash. That's Locked On MLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. Passion, drive, and patience is the formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. I am somebody who does not know a lot about cars. I've never been a car guy. My dad wasn't a big car guy. So when it comes to this kind of stuff, I go where the experts are. And eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, because I don't know what I'm supposed to get from my car, but eBay Motors makes it easy. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and much more. Whether you're into speed, whether it's power, whether it's style, whatever you want your car to be like, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, where you get your money back, because eBay Motors is not trying to steal money from you. They want you burning rubber, not burning through your cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's very easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Then make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel. It's programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, and it's streaming 24/7. So no matter what time of day you need your information, it's there for you on YouTube, or you can go to the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Remember, you can catch every pitch of the Cardinals' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. All you got to do is download the SXM app, search the word Cardinals. Again, thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Love getting all your comments, good and bad. Give me that feedback. It's always welcome and encouraged. Time to play the blame game. I wish I had some game show music to play along with that, because blame game time. We got to find out whose fault this is for something like this happening, because freak accidents don't just happen, do they? Injuries they don't just occur when grown men are playing a sport where they're wielding bats and throwing and hitting balls at triple-digit speeds. Of course not. Somebody's got to be in the wrong here, right? Sometimes things just go bad. All right. And that's my opinion on this. Some things just go bad. And whether you agree or disagree with me, it hasn't stopped people from trying to place blame on someone's doorstep in this situation. There are reasons why this happened, but I'm not blaming somebody. It's not like somebody intentionally put somebody in a spot and said, you're doing this despite the fact that you're going to get hurt. That's not what happened. Let's start with the JD Martinez part of this, okay? Because I tweeted last night, I was like, and it was a joke. I don't know if it was taken as a joke from some people, but I was like, JD Martinez, certified cheater. I meant it as a joke, but he's the man who swung the club that cracked the arm in the first place. Not a guy who isn't familiar with catcher's interference calls. Not sure if it has to do with his swing. Maybe it does. Maybe he's got a long start to his swing and sweeps it through the zone. I haven't studied JD Martinez's swing enough to know that. But he got Wilson's brother, William Contreras of the Brewers, twice in one game last year on catcher's interference calls, something that was pointed out by Derek Gould at STLtoday.com. Our buddy Thomas Govain at RedbirdRants.com pointed out that when you look at photos from the crime scene last night, let me put these up here for the YouTube people watching on YouTube. I can show you. For the audio guys, sorry you can't see this, but I'll try to explain it to you. So here's the setup before JD Martinez takes a swing at the plate. And you can see how close Contreras is to JD Martinez. All right. They're all crammed in there, nice and tight. But if you look at the back right leg of JD Martinez, look at the ground, look at his leg, look at his foot, look at where the batter's box is. All right. You look at that. And from my point of view here, it appears that during this at-bat, Martinez's back foot is a few inches behind the batter's box's back line. Now, that line, granted, it gets dug out and kicked around during games plenty. You'll notice, though, hitters will dig in and they kick the hell out of that line. So it's spread out all over the place. So I don't know how good the line looks there still at this point, but this was the second inning. So it's not like it's been used a whole lot yet. I have not seen an aerial view of the batter's box of this at bat, but from this side angle, it looks to me like he's too far back. Here's another picture of it where he's starting to swing, and you can see the point of his foot, and it looks to me that he's out of the box, which is not what he's supposed to be doing. Now, does he set up that way to injure catchers? Absolutely not. He does it so we can get that extra millisecond to see the ball at the plate. Tons of hitters stand there and take a little bit extra. But could this have been part of the cause of the injury because of the extra couple of inches here that may have led to this injury? Certainly a possibility. Second persons that people are pointing fingers at are the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, one of the things that a lot of teams around baseball are doing are having their catchers set up closer to the plate. And they're doing it for framing purposes. And when you set up closer and then you reach your arm out, it's going to be put in harm's way more frequently. Now, the idea is to catch the ball before it falls out of the zone, so making it appear to be a strike at the knees instead of a ball. Like, it's more of like, I don't want to say a trick, but it's a visual thing for the umpires to make it look like it's a strike more times than not. All right. Derek Gould wrote a piece talking about this, saying a topic of discussion within the industry is the dramatic increase in catcher interference calls, just like Contreras is on Tuesday. Chasing an old practice of framing pitches, but empowered by new metrics that precisely measure that skill, catchers throughout the majors are creeping closer and closer to the plate. Contreras worked with the Cardinals during the spring of 2023 to position himself closer to that plate than he had been with the Cubs for the express purpose of improving the calls he got on lower pitches. Many catchers and teams are doing it for an obvious reason. It works. It pays off, but it's not without risk. So first thing you got to notice there is, yes, the Cardinals have asked him to do that, but teams all over the league are doing it. Now, Ali was asked about the risk, saying this, that the risk is high. We just experienced it. It's a huge risk, and it's been talked about even in the offseason. It was a topic of discussion because there was an increase in them. The more catchers are evaluated on framing, the closer they're getting to the hitter to get that low pitch. And the stats prove it, that Willson Contreras has been a better receiving catcher this year. And part of the reason is that he's getting more strikes called for his pitchers. And part of the reason is because of this move closer to the plate. Now, in Gould's article, he had a quote from Willson saying that he thought the best way to frame is to get closer. So it's not like Willson was reluctant to do this. Of course he's doing that. He wants to do anything he can for his team, for his pitchers, to get the calls, to get the outs, to get the wins. And like I said earlier, it's not the Cardinals who invented this idea and are the only ones asking their catchers to do this. It's something that has spread across the league. And because of this, you are seeing more catchers interference calls each year. And it's not just on the Cardinals. It's on everybody. Remember earlier in the season when the Cardinals benefited from a couple of those calls, and I remember thinking to myself, like, this is so odd. Like, how are we seeing this many catchers interference calls already in the season? Remember, it was like they had more catchers interference calls than home runs. Like, I was like, what's going on here? Well, now we know. Now we know why, because all these catchers are scooching up to the plate, and it's putting them closer to the backswing of hitters. Now, Gould threw out some catcher's interference stats, said as recently as 2002, there were fewer than 10 catcher interference calls in the majors. From 2012 to 2014, the yearly total did not surpass 25. There were 26 catcher interference calls this past April alone. Back in 2015, there are 33 catcher's interference calls total in the season. Contreras's on Tuesday night was the 33rd of this season already. In the span of just 5 years, the number of catchers interference calls in the majors has doubled. And in 2022, a new record was set with 74. That high was surpassed in 2023 with 96. 33 catchers interference calls in 1,058 games so far this year per MLB research coming into Tuesday. Last season, there were 96 catchers interference calls in 4,860 games. So that means that the catcher's interference calls have come every 32 games this season compared to every 50.6 games in 2023. So more frequently. So it's not just the Cardinals who are taking this risk. The whole league is doing it. The Cardinals are the first team to get severely burned by it. That's the only difference. Post-game, the starter Miles Michaelis had this to say about the way catchers are setting up and what he thinks the league could do to keep them safer, because obviously everybody's bummed out because of Willson. Miles said, I think there should be a line back there for the catchers and just have them stay behind the line. That way no one can get any closer than the next guy. And if you put them back there in a spot that is deemed safe, that might help guys. And that makes sense, that there could be like a little line that they cannot pass, because no matter how far you reach, even if you have to like longer arms to reach closer to the plate, like guys would still be safe. You know how they have it, they study the arm length of like offensive linemen and stuff like that in the National Football League. Like you make it so you know what the average guy normally is back there. There's obviously going to be huge dudes that are like 6'5", 6'6", or whatever who are catching, but make it so it's more safe. And that way, nobody else can get closer. Maybe you see taller catchers instead to try to make that framing possible again. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But it's definitely something the league will have to look into, because Wilson's injury, it could just be the beginning. You want to nip this in the bud as soon as possible to avoid some other problems. You don't want to see people get hurt. Also, since we're talking about limiting where catchers can be, maybe let's perhaps pay a little closer attention to where the hitters are in the back of the box. In a game that is decided by inches on a daily basis, the Cardinals, Wilson Contreras, and the fans all just learned the hard way that the inches that everyone is crammed into behind home plate are just as important as all of the other inches out there on the field. So maybe let's tighten it up a little bit on how far back in the batter's box and outside of the batter's box some of these hitters are getting. We're going to talk about the rest of the game, which spiraled out of control, and talk a little deeper about the Paul Goldschmidt struggles, all next on Locked On Cardinals. Baseball season is officially underway, so don't miss your chance to add your favorite players with from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries. Now, strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs, you can take your pick on so many different statistics, and you pick more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry each and every day. It's very simple. Like, what do you think Sonny Gray is going to do today, strikeout-wise? He's going to be a lot? He's going to be low? What do you think? What do you think Jose Quintana? Is he going to pitch well against the Cardinals today? If you believe that, if you're one of the people that's like, this Cardinals offense stinks, they can't do anything, then go bet on Jose Quintana today and make some money off of it. You can also get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason, as well as the NHL postseason going on right now. New York Rangers last night. You know what? I wanted Carolina to win, and it's not happening, and it's bumming me out a little bit. But my favorite aspect of PrizePicks is just how quick and simple it is to play. Like I mentioned, you want to bet on the strikeouts in today's game or the number of hits, number of home runs. It's all there, and you can make your pick, submit your entry, and you can do it all in less than 60 seconds. It's quick. It's easy. You get paid quickly. It's a lot of fun, and you've got an enormous selection of players and stat types to choose from. That's what makes PrizePicks the number one daily fantasy sports app. So download the app today. Try it for yourself. Use code LOCKEDONMLB. Get your first deposit match up to $100. We'll take care of that for you. Don't miss out on your chance to cash in on all of your sports knowledge. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's also now available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So following the Contreras injury, things just continue to go south for the Cardinals. They had that 3-0 lead going into the fifth inning. Miles Mikolas looked good for the first 4 innings. Like, you can't say that he didn't. And then the Mets just started tagging him left and right. You get 2 singles, then a 3-run homer by Brandon Nimmo. 440 feet, longest home run at Busch Stadium so far this year. Just crushed it to center field. And then there's a double. Then there's a single. And then another double. And just like that, Miles Mikolas' day is over. He gets pulled, ends up giving up 6 earned runs in this one. Looked great those first 4 innings, which leads me to believe that maybe he was tipping his pitches. And someone even pointed out, and I don't know who it was, and I wish I could give you credit for it, but somebody on Twitter even said that former Cardinal Keith Hernandez, Cardinals Hall of Famer Keith Hernandez, who does TV work for the Mets, was even talking about how Mikolas was tipping his pitches. So if that's the case, let's fix that because he looked pretty good. And then he was getting killed. It reminded me a lot of the Kyle Gibson against the Marlins game recently, where the Marlins just seemed to know exactly what he was going to throw each and every time. And then when they figured out what was happening, and then he was really, really good. So I wonder if that was happening. I'm not trying to make an excuse. I'm just saying that if that is something that went down, that would explain why he was getting murdered, because I wasn't watching the Mets telecast. I'm not sure how accurate it is, but it makes sense because these pitches weren't exactly the worst pitches in the world. It wasn't that Ethos curveball right over the heart of the plate that was getting shelled. Like, it was pitches, they were in the zone, but they were at the very bottom of the zone, maybe a little more towards the heart of the plate than you would like, but nothing that screams, oh my gosh, what a terrible pitch, or anything like that. Genuinely, it just was like, wow. They just keep ripping them. So the 6-run fifth inning put the Mets up for good. The Cardinals would get solo home runs from Alec Burleson. Again, he had a big night. Lars Nootbaar hit a solo shot, which was good to see. He had some good at-bats last night, which is encouraging because he's been struggling. But it's not like the Cardinals didn't have their chances. Bottom of the 7th, huge one here. Bases loaded, 1 out. Arenado and Goldie coming up to the plate. And again, people like to blame Ollie Marmol for almost everything out there, and that's fine. I'm not going to be able to talk any of these guys out of it, that not everything is Ollie's fault. But when you have it set up and his lineup is set to go, and I gave his lineup some grief yesterday. I was like, what is all this? But when your two best hitters left after Wilson got hurt, which is Nato and Goldie, those are supposed to be your two best hitters, right? Your two big guns, and they come up in situations to win the game or tie the game or break it open. That's smart. That's how you want the lineup to fall. And here's the situation where you got bases loaded, 1 out, your two best dudes up, and they don't do anything. Nato pops out, and then Goldie strikes out. Threat's over. 9th inning, down 2 after the Newt dinger. 1st and 2nd, 1 out. Goldie strikes out again. And it was on a terrible swing, too. Like, that, the pitch was like in the other batter's box. And then Burleson strikes out. He had an at bat where he was fighting, but he strikes out. Game's over. And I know you want to believe in your veterans. Like, I know Ollie wants to do that. You want to back him up whenever you can. But it's time to have a serious conversation about whether or not Paul Goldschmidt being in the lineup every day is the best thing for this team. I mean, he is stranding small villages out there on the base paths each and every night, and he looks nothing like the Goldie that we've seen over the years. Like, he's not even looks like the Goldie that had a bad year last year for Goldie type of production. Like, he's taking fastballs for strikes, like ones that are right down the middle, like just taking them. And then he swings at garbage outside the zone, like way outside of the zone. His bat is slow. The contact is weak, if he makes contact at all. 0 for 5 last night, 3 strikeouts. Since that 4-hit day in Detroit where we were all like, uh-oh, is Goldie back? We all got excited, right? 0 for his last 23. Hasn't had a hit yet in the month of May. He's now got a team-leading 47 strikeouts in 35 games. I'm going to do some math for you. 1.3 whiffs per game, which is on pace for 217 over a 162-game period. By far a career high. He's unrecognizable at the plate right now. Among qualified first basemen in Major League Baseball, he leads the league in strikeouts. He's 22nd in batting average at 194. He is second to last in home runs, third to last in RBIs, 22nd in OPS, 23rd in slugging. I hate to say it, but it's like the Adam Wainwright situation from last year all over again, but instead with a hitter, where it appears that he has just fallen off that cliff. And I don't know if he's going to make his way back. You want to believe in him. You want to say, hold on, he'll get to it. But I don't know, man. Like, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to be realistic about it. Maybe he's done. Maybe he's cooked. Adam Wainwright had similar situation. He pitched really, really well. They bring him back. He pitches kind of good, and then he falls off at the end. And then his last year, horrendous, right? Is that the same trajectory that I'm seeing out of Goldschmidt? MVP tailing off a little bit, not a great year, pretty bad at the end, and now he's never been the same and has looked like a shadow of himself, of the former ball player that we've seen at the plate. Still getting it done defensively. I'll give him a little credit there, but we're not paying you for your defense, really. More for your offense. He's got the day off today, which is good. If memory serves, he normally hits well in Milwaukee, so I'm sure we'll see him back in the lineup over the weekend again against the Brewers. But it's really rough watching him right now at the plate. Like, nobody wants to see him struggle like this. It's tough. And you can see it in his face when he's up there. Like, the confidence, there's nothing. There is nothing right now. And it doesn't matter where Ali puts him in the lineup, 3rd, 5th, 6th. He seems to always come up in a big spot and just is not getting it done. He's not having productive at-bats. Again, I'm not picking on the guy. These are just facts, and I'm just sharing them with you. A team star for offense cannot have a hole in the heart of the lineup. You've got to move him down. If you're going to put him in there, he's got to be 6th or lower until he figures things out, if he figures things out at all. Sonny Gray on the mound today. They try to avoid the sweep. He's up against former Cardinals starter Jose Quintana, who pitched very, very well against the Cardinals in the last Mets-Cardinals series. So we'll see what happens today. We want to believe in the Sonny Gray day, that he's the guy. That's why he's your ace, that he'll put a stop to the bleeding, if you will. But we'll see. We'll see. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on Twitter, X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans of baseball for a reason, and I will see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.